Hello and welcome to the first of Motivation and Money with me, Mark Terrell, and Fanny Snaith. First of all, I'm going to pass you over to Fanny to introduce herself.
Hello, my name is Fanny Snaith, and I am sitting here in my office in Cheltenham in the UK, and I'm a certified money coach. I work in the main with people on their personal finance, working with people to try and heal and improve their relationship with money because people come to me and they say, I've got a problem with money, and it's important if you're going to go into business because business is all about the exchange of money. First thing I think to realize is that if you say that you have problems with money, it's not money, it's the problems with exchange. And we're going to explore how money take, what kind of role money takes in our business, which of course, let's face it, if we all had millions of pounds in the bank, we probably, most of us might not be in the jobs that we're in now. That could be an interesting question to discuss too, Mark.
Mhm.
But really just sort of think about how money and motivation are a match with each other and how they work in our favour or how they don't. So that's me, Fanny Snaith, certified money coach from Cheltenham.
Brilliant. So back to me, Mark Terrell. I'm a motivational expert or specialist. The reason being that I believe that motivation is key in a business scenario. We've got to understand what motivates us. So, with regards to being a business owner, entrepreneur, what you want to call yourself, you've got to know what drives you, what gets you out of bed in the morning, whatever it is. Is it money? Is it something else? And obviously, money is always part of it. It's not that we disregard it if it's not important to us, but actually, I'll talk a bit more about this, how it can become a hygiene factor if we're not paying enough attention to it. So motivation is key for ourselves as a business owner. It's also key when we think about the role that we have in our business, making sure the role that we create in our business is motivating. And thirdly, obviously, we want to make sure that we're able to motivate our team, understanding what motivates them. Because let's face it, most of the time they're motivated in a different way to what we are. If we're an entrepreneur, then we probably have certain things that are important to us. But the people we take on, the team, could well be driven in a different way. So we need to reward them in the right way. And obviously, money is one type of reward, which we're all familiar with. And it's important to us to make sure we're feeling well enough rewarded. But is it that important driver? And are we are we paying enough attention to it, or are we paying too much attention to money? And that's why the interesting thing. So this all came about. Fanny and I, we met some while ago networking, which we'll talk a little bit about networking later on. And we had a one-to-one, and we talked about this, and then the idea for this show came about with regards to how can we just talk about motivation and money. So, do you want to kick things off, Fanny, with regards to you sort of told us a little bit about
Yeah.
what you do with regards to a money coach? I think the interesting thing when you talk about you being a money coach, you don't give financial advice. It's
No.
just your relationship with money, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I teach people practical finance, that's for sure. So I think the thing is to start off with the fact in the way that we think and we would believe around money really is quite a deciding factor in the way that money plays a role in our lives. Um, One of the things that I found is that when I started this, when I started this, I hadn't done my training at the Money Coaching Institute, which is all about the mindset around money. And I thought because I'd always been good with money myself, looking after it on a practical level, one, I thought that I was really good with money generally. And secondly, I thought, well, I'll just teach people how to fill in spreadsheets, basically, how to budget their money. And I would get people to come along to me as my for early clients. And I would sit there and teach them the system that I developed called a money mapping system. And literally, their eyes would glaze over, or some of them cried, and they would just gaze out of the window. And I was thinking, this is interesting. This is really interesting because this person that I'm sitting with has got like 2 degrees. They've got like 300 staff. They're dealing with budgets of millions of pounds at work, and yet they're not managing their finances. And I'm trying to teach them how to do it, to manage this great salary that they're earning, and they're not interested. So it was then really that it was patently obvious that actually our relationship with money is the most important thing, and that 80% of being good with money is what's going on between our ears. So it was then that what I decided to do is to try and look at our financial lives as an adventure, because what I was seeing was that many people would come to me and they'd see money as a bothersome burden, oh God, I've got to look after I've got to do my finances. And that was their personal finances. And if that's how you think about your personal finance, how there's going to be some knock-on effect in your business. I'm not saying you won't do your business accounts, because that actually isn't true. But if you have some kind of beliefs that that money is a drag down, you're going to take that into your business somehow. So first and foremost, I work with people on their personal relationships with money. And I'm also got a little bit of a woo-woo thing going on, in the fact that I love numerology, which is the study of numbers. And I know that's a bit weird for some people. And I also use symbology and all sorts of things, and using my intuition to help people heal their relationship with money, and then go on what I call a financial adventure. If people come to me and want to just go straight into business coaching, archetype coaching, which is using different archetypes to try and understand the role that their personality plays in business, I will 9 times out of 10 say, really, it'd be a good idea to do one-to-one coaching first.
Mm-hmm.
But no,
Interesting.
I don't sell products.
No.
I help people manage their finances, and I will certainly recommend financial advisors, etc., should they wish to have one. But I'm not allowed to sell products, no, and I'm very happy not to do so.
It's interesting, isn't it?
How did
When you
you
talk
start?
about, say again.
I was going to say, how did you start with your motivation theme?
Well, yeah, good question. Well, when I started my coaching business, I sort of reflected on my retail business that I run for 30 years. And when you have chance to sort of reflect, you think about the things you did well, things you enjoyed, things that maybe you didn't do quite so well, and how would you do things differently given the time? Because when you're running a business, you don't get a lot of time to sort of step back and sort of give yourself that time, do you? So I had that time, and I thought, yeah, motivation, when it came up, was something that really was sometimes really strong. I was very motivated with the role I did, but other times I wasn't. And I connected that very much to being in charge. So motivation with regards to being someone in power. So my business is the Reluctant Leader Academy, which is associated with my journey with regards to being, not really wanting to be in charge.
Yeah.
What really I wanted to be was actually the person that brought in new ideas, innovates in the business, creates new things. That's the things that really got me going. When we were really bringing new ideas in, that's my role was really came to life then. So when I got into that position where I was spending most of the time managing people, that's when my motivation sort of dropped away. So I think it'd be a good time just to share a little bit around, the model that I use, which is the motivational maps model, and where money fits in with that.
Definitely.
So with regards to the motivational map model, these are the 9 motivators that people want from work. We don't want them all in equal measures. So the key is to know which one's really driving you at the moment, and things will change. So with regards to where money fits in with here, if you notice in the middle, right in the middle is builder. And that is, you'll see it seeks money, material satisfaction, and above average living. So someone who is a high builder is very much focused on gaining more money, buying the material things. That's the things that motivates them. And there's no good or bad. There's no, we're not, it's about what drives this. And there's no, what's the word I'm looking for? Judgment in this. So it doesn't matter which ones are motivating you. The key is to know which ones they are and making sure they're fulfilled. So builder is the obvious one that wants money. There's also the defender on the top left-hand corner, which is influenced by money, but more of a saving money. So it's more of and you'll probably you'll be able to connect this to your archetypes. So more about being frugal and saving money as opposed to making money with the builder. So they're the motivations that sort of crop up with regards to money. And obviously there's the other 9. And essentially what we do with this model is that we find out which motivators are the strongest, put them in order from most important down to the least important. And then we know then that those ones at the top end are the ones that people are making decisions based on those. And so we want to make sure that those things are being fulfilled on an individual basis and with our team as well, making sure that those motivations are being met in some way. So it's not about having good or bad motivators, but actually what it is making sure that the motivations that we have are being fulfilled in the role that we have in the business.
That's really, it's a very, I absolutely love these business models. Something that I've learned over the years is that to just to have a framework to work within, whatever framework it is helpful. Because, I mean, taking the subject of money, which I think is a good one, there are so many emotive things, emotions and drivers and all sorts and experiences that come up within all of us that are literally going to take us down a road of twists and turns and roller coasters and all that kind of stuff. So to be able to try and unpick those, to then to make sure we have as much positive behavior around that particular topic or whatever, whether it be business growth, personal growth, motivating a team, tackling a task in a business that you haven't actually done before, all those working with other people, how teams work with each other. I think it's just so helpful to be able to go, well, let's go back to this framework and see if I can give this get some kind of reason and where and why for out of this, which is then helps to guide you along the way.
Yeah.
And I mean, let's face it, there are loads of models out there.
Yeah.
I have my own model that I use from the Money Coaching Institute, which is we have the personal money archetypes and the business archetypes. So I'm thinking, Mark, I'm thinking that actually using these kind of models, we've got weeks worth of conversations to have around this.
Yes, indeed.
Because we can focus. It'll be really interesting because when you showed your model up, I was not comparing or just looking at mine. So for instance, in the business archetypes, I've got the rebel, the warrior, the servant leader, the gambler, the novice, the inventor, the dictator, the conservator, the entrepreneur, and the master. So they're all there, and they're not motivations, they're more archetypes that you recognize yourself with. I don't know, it's really interesting to see how you compare them.
So, I mean, archetypes are brilliant because you get an idea of your potential, the way you act and your behaviours and the way you are being perceived by others as well. That's really interesting. The motivational map model is interesting because what's important to remember is that the motivation is going to change. So it's not about saying you're now this or that. It's about, at the moment, your key motivators are these things. And the question is, how do you see them? How's that going for you at the moment? How are you fulfilling those motivators in your business right now? And that could be a light bulb moment in itself. Because So just to give you an example, so what I tend to do is I give that model to my client and they pick out the ones they think are their top motivators. So they might pick out, I get them to pick out 3 actually, so we talk about the top 3. But what happens is that it's quite difficult to pick out the ones that are really driving you. So you need a diagnostic to do that, to be accurate. But the question mark is when you've chosen one that actually you think is one of your top drivers and it ends up being one of your bottom drivers, the things that's least important to you, that's why? Well, okay, so what does that actually mean? I thought that was important to me, but actually turns out there are other things that are important to me. So the first thing you do is put them into context to say, well, okay, so now we've got this information. It's only a model to work with. We're not talking about a reality as such. We're just talking about something that actually it's come out that these things are important to you. Firstly, is it correct? And 99 times out of 100 they are, unless you're trying to manipulate the results. And then you think, well, okay, so if that's the truth, then what do I do with that information? And I guess it's the same with your archetypes.
Yeah, and I think what's really important, the point that you make and the point that I make, I mean, we've both got quizzes score apps, whatever it is, on our websites. I did yours
I
actually.
noticed that. Yes, I'd love to have a look at your results.
It was interesting actually, and I mean I don't have a team, so it was. I don't have a team as yet. I work on my own. I've got, my daughter works for me, and I'm just about to break out into, build up into having a team. So some of the questions were not that applicable to me at this particular stage. However, I think the most important thing is I know there are lots of money type quizzes out there. Find out your money personality. I don't believe that you have a money personality. Your money personality is dynamic, right? So, for instance, if I was to look at the business archetypes, if I was sitting here and I was going to actually start a new task of something that I'd never done before, then my novice would show up, right? But if I was doing something like delivering my coaching, etc., then hopefully my master's going to show up because I'm very comfortable with that. So I think the important part is to realize that whatever we're seeing, it is dynamic and it changes. And on the personal archetype money front, the money types front, the way I describe it to my clients is that if you're going on a financial adventure, you're going to need four things, which is a map, which is essentially the way I budget, which is creating a money map, a compass to track your spending, a destination, obviously where you want to go, and then also to be fit and motivated. And if we're going on a financial adventure, let's go on a bus. And I put the 8 money types that we have in personal money coaching as passengers on that bus, and then ask them, who's driving the bus? Who is driving the bus? Are you driving your financial life on purpose? So, and it will be the same with you as well. And what's interesting as well is we call them shadow types. That you say somebody picked 3 things, and then there was actually something that they didn't say at all, but it came up during the diagnostic as the big one. It's exactly the same that we have, and we call it just the shadow type. I was talking to a lady a couple of weeks ago who does everything for her family, and the one money type that didn't come up was martyr. And it's like, so this is behaviour that is often denied.
Yeah, that's very interesting, isn't it? I think we'll just break off and just, if anybody's watching, there are people watching, feel free to ask any questions. If you catch this on the replay, wherever you're watching this, so this is going out on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube and Twitter. So if you catch it on any of those platforms and you think, okay, I've got a question about motivation or money, feel free to leave that and we'll come back to you on those and answer any questions that come up from what we're discussing. Well, I've made a note there, just going back to what you just said a little bit while ago. The important thing what these things allow us to do, which all these models, is that it allows us as a coach to meet our clients where they are. So we know where they are at the moment. And obviously, I definitely take my clients on a journey. I'm sure you do, and you've talked about getting them on the bus. So it's definitely, the analogy is perfect. So we need to know where they are on that sort of journey, and we know most journeys are they're not straightforward. They sort of it will take meander along. So we need to roughly know where they are with regards to where they are on that sort of journey that we take them on, because there's no point in stepping to step 6 when they're actually on step 2, and vice versa. So it's important to understand that people are at different points in their progress, and we want to be able to make progress for them as soon as we can.
And it was interesting because we were talking about this before we went live, didn't we? That it's how important it is to look at not just the business as far as the strategy is concerned, but also the person as well. And I was saying to you that I had a couple of business coaches early on in my business, and they were giving me strategies of what I had to go out and do. But like you cleverly said, I wasn't being that person because I was still not confident necessarily in my products and services because I hadn't been doing it that long, and they just weren't looking at me as holistically. And so it wasn't going to be a successful journey with
Mm.
that coach, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I hope you don't mind. I'm just going to just bring my book
Bring
into
it
the yeah.
in,
So
bring
this
it
is my
in.
book. For those of you who don't know, it's called Motivated, and I in that book I talk about 7 steps, which obviously I'm not going to go through all those 7 steps. But number one, the first step in the measure program, which is the letters I use for each step, is mirror. So the key thing that we need to do is be self-aware. In my case, it's about being self-aware about behavioural styles, self-aware about motivations, and self-aware about our leadership mindset. But I guess with your journey, Fanny, it's that understanding they're obviously where they are with regards to their relationship with money. So it's about self-awareness in the
Well,
same way, isn't it?
you see, that's the really interesting thing, Mark, because
Mm,
people's relationship with money, yes, that's important. But what we find out is when
mm,
people say I've got money problems or I'm not good with money, all those phrases that are under the umbrella of it's not going that well for me right now. It's not problems with money. It's a we. If you think about it, you can't have a problem with money because it's just a tool.
mm,
It's just a tool. What you can have is a problem with exchange. That's the difficulty, that you have a problem somewhere along the line with receiving and giving and all the things that go along with that. I mean, that there's a myriad of different things that go along with that exchange, but it's not the tool itself. So for instance, you're going to come up with self-worth, self-esteem, you know, being able to give, being able to receive. You know, I mean, I know plenty of people that love giving, but they don't want to receive presents. They're too embarrassed and all that kind of stuff. All that stuff needs to come out.
mm,
And actually, you're not then talking about the money, you're talking about you. And you're talking about how you rock up and how you value your value, a huge one of when you go into business. I know I spent a good amount of time working out how to value my value. I don't know how your prices started out when you first became self-employed, right? And we're sitting there going, "Oh, should we just give them that session for?" Well, I'll give it free for 5 people, and then I'll start charging 25p an hour to do this, and then and it takes a while, right,
mm.
to get that confidence going and to be so. As a coach, I think one of the biggest challenges for me, one of the things I really want to create for my clients or take them on the journey is the being part. Because if you can
Yeah.
crack that, a lot of the other things all fall into line.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, money is it's just a way of giving a value to something, isn't it? And that value exchange, as you said, is the crucial thing. And when you talk about,
It
you know,
should be.
most people when they start down the coaching route will just talk about their time in regards to per hour. But what we learn in time is actually it's not about the time we spend. It's about the what we deliver, the transformation, and the value of that transformation is crucial. You know, what's that allowing to happen once they can change their mindset around money, or understand the role that motivation plays in their business. What's the value of understanding that for the person so that they can actually get more fulfillment in work, in their personal life, and all those sort of things? That's the key. And it's understanding what value that is to the person that is buying our services.
It is, but we also have to remember, though, that there are plenty of services that are delivered that cannot command the amount of money that the value is worth. So, for instance, I mean, teachers, I don't think get paid half enough.
Yeah,
Nurses,
yeah.
etc. Care workers. I mean, there are thousands of jobs that people don't get paid their value.
Mm,
So it's important that we have a workaround with that and we can get to peace with that in our minds and decide how we want to go forward with that. I mean, I have plenty of people that rock up in the workshops that I deliver online. And there was one lady, she was a special educational needs teacher, and she was literally, I could almost feel her steam coming from the Zoom room. And she was going, "Well, Fanny, it's all very well you talking to us about saving and even investing, etc." She goes, I haven't had a pay rise, a proper pay rise in 58,000 years. I'm
mm,
a special educational needs teacher. I've been in this job for 16 years and I'm stuck. I love my job, but what can I do?
mm,
And so I think then it's our job I said, so you've been in your job for 16 years. How many children do you think you've looked after? She goes, oh, I don't know. And I said, well, it's got to be 16, maybe one a year, maybe double. She goes, oh, yeah, it's at least double. I said, so look at your experience that you have as a person. You might be bringing value at school, but how much value can you bring outside of school? Maybe you could think about that. Maybe you could do some private coaching, or maybe you could do a little ebook or something that you could sell. And sure enough, that's what she's doing. So sometimes it just takes a coach like you and I to help people move out of the space that they feel stuck in.
Yeah, see
But I
possibilities.
think,
Yeah.
but I think we have to be very careful that, people who aren't charging huge amounts of money think that that's just the value that it delivers, because it's not as simple as that, is it?
No, I mean, you talked about someone that is working in an organisation, and particularly if you're working in organisations that like the NHS and all those sort of things, you're in just a pay scale, and you're paid in that pay scale, aren't you? But like you just said, there's options where you can use your expertise that you've gained over a long period of time to do something outside of work, which isn't directly what you do at work. So, for instance, a membership models are really interesting, aren't they? Where you create a membership around a community that has something going on in their lives, and you become the sort of mentor for those people based on your experience, which you can charge quite a low amount, but actually per person. But actually, if you get a number of people in, it becomes quite lucrative and can become quite useful and as an extra income. So, those things are you've got to put the work in and put the technology, get the technology working for you. But it's quite doable, isn't it? So
absolutely. I mean, I was listening to a podcast the other day, one of my favorite podcasts, and there was a teacher lady, and she was stuck in that profession and she loved being a teacher, so she started developing resources for teachers, and she sells them from anything between $3 and about $50. And she's got in with the teacher market, and she has this on, I think, and she loves going home and creating a resource. And other teachers are so happy to pay $3, $10, $20, whatever, to buy a resource that they can just then pick up. They know, they trust it because they go to this website regularly, and they can just take it straight into the classroom.
Yeah, so saving them time, and brilliant.
Boom,
So I mean, I'm sure we've got loads of these stories which you're going to share, and hopefully we'll be able to do these quite regularly. It's time's flying by. We're almost at 1:30 already. So we said we'd finish after 30 minutes. So we've got a couple of minutes to sort of wrap things up. So rather than just go on meander along, let's sort of just decide what we're going to finish off with.
I think we've got three things that we need to say.
Mm-hmm.
We need to say, one, both of us are members of Evo Apollo, which happens every other Thursday at 8 o'clock until 9:30.
Mm-hmm.
And we're the leadership team on that. So anybody is welcome to come and join us, should you so wish. It's online. Sometimes we have meetings in person as well. It's quite a lot of people from sort of North Bristol, South Gloucestershire sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Area, but actually I don't think it matters too much. And Evo is a huge networking group which has other groups which do span the whole of the country. So if you want to find out more about that, just let us know and we can do that. If not, you can search for Evo Business Networking on LinkedIn. I think we also need to tell you how to get hold of you, Mark, and that you've got your Score app on your website that would be a good start for people to take.
Yeah, so let me do that, and then we'll come back to where they can find more details about you. So my website is thereluctantleader.academy. On there is a free assessment, which takes a couple of minutes, which it scores you on 5 elements of your leadership around your business, particularly around how you lead your team. So take that, and it's free. You get a result, and you don't have to put your details in. But if you want the results sent to you, obviously there's no way we can do that unless you put your email address in. So if you put your email address in, you'll get that email to you. So you'll find me at that website. And what about you, Fanny? How can people find you?
So with a name like mine, I'm not that difficult to find, which is good. So my web address is fannysnaith.com. And on there is a money type quiz, which is for personal finance, if you want to have a go at that. And there are 2 little boxes at the end as to whether you want to sign up for my occasional newsletter. and also a free money type consultation with me, which I'm offering 30 minutes. But you don't have to fill them in, and if you don't fill them in, then I won't bother you. But it's good fun to find these things out, because we are where we are, and if you can put the flag in the sand and accept that and be aware of that and conscious of that, then you can decide which direction you want to move to next, which way is forward.
Brilliant. Well, that was a fun 30 minutes. Hopefully those that joined us thought so as well. So hope we'll be doing this again. Hopefully we're going to plan some more of these, aren't we, Fanny? Yeah.
I think we should do it, because there's so many to talk about. We can talk about the money types. We can take a little bit of a deep dive into some of those. We can take a deep dive into some of the motivators and how actually they get brought into business. So.
Yep. Certainly, there's loads of stuff we can talk about. I'm very excited. So yes, catch us next time. It might be next week. It might be a fortnight's time. Who knows? But at some point in the future, we'll schedule another one of these, and we'll do something similar. But obviously, we'll dive into a topic that is motivation and money linked. Right. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for a fun 30 minutes, Fanny, and see you again soon.
See you soon.